So, when's Kenny coming back?
But Kyle, Kenny died 10 years ago.
Well, we'll just have to resurrect him. We can use my Waluigi board.
Don't you mean a Ouija board?
Luigi board?
No, my Waluigi board.
Okay, so say his name 3 times backwards, looking into the mirror whilst holding the Waluigi board. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yannick, Yannick, Yannick.
And that, Mr. Satan, is why you should include Raid Shadow Legends in your plan to take up... Guys, I was busy!
Waluigi time!
Ava launch!
Tetsuo! Kaneda!
Onita?
It's over 9,000! Nani?
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Kawaii-Fi.
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 Konnichiwa and welcome. You're tuned in to Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast where we dive into the world of anime and manga. I'm Kyle, and joining me are my co-hosts Aaron and Laura. Yeah, we're sans Kenny again because Kenny died. I mean, whatever we're going to do.
Sometimes I can still hear his voice.
I can hear his ghost, if you will. Hi, Kenny. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
There is the 4 of us again in the studio. And as you can tell from last episode, Kenny was indeed missed. His presence is very familiar when we're doing those season previews.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, presents? Halloween? Is this the Nightmare Before Christmas?
A little bit.
I thought that was a Christmas movie.
Was
Isn't
it?
both?
Is it a bit both? Bit
Unless.
of everything. Well, look, it is October, so that does mean Octoberween is well underway. But we are going to be talking firstly, before we get into this episode's spooky, scary skeletons, about the shows that have been coming out that we talked about last episode and what we've actually caught. And we want to start off with a bit of an eye popper, which is Akudama Drive.
Oh, yes.
Is
Now,
that Akudama?
Akudama, I'm not sure.
Academia?
Academia
Demu.
Akudama. Yeah. Akudama Drive.
But look, Akudama Drive is pretty much the cyberpunk darling of this season, isn't it?
Awesome.
It's so
It's
beautiful.
a cyberpunk heist film with... It's... the characters on the show are... You've seen them before. Every single one of these people is a trope of some manner or form.
But not in a bad way.
But not in a bad way.
Not in a
No,
bad way.
it feels somehow refreshing because it's like you've seen each of these characters before, but never in the same place at once.
No, which is fantastic. And let's be honest, like, it's definitely embraced that cyberpunk aesthetic.
Oh my
there.
god.
definitely.
So Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah. Well, imagine Ghost in the Shell mixed with
Bit of Devil May Cry.
Kind of
Blade
Danganronpa.
Runner.
Yeah.
And bit of Duncan Romper in the
Yeah.
character designs. Yeah.
So it's really nice.
Yeah, we're throwing a bunch of titles on you there, but trust me, this is one thing that
works.
It's really cool.
It's great sort of just mindless action. You'll love it.
Also, Aurora Borealis.
Aurora Borealis.
Yes,
This
because
time
the
of
story
year.
is that the city is separated from the rest of the world by the Shinkansen train, which appears to glow.
It causes the Aurora Borealis in your kitchen at this time of year.
Yes.
That's a meme.
Yeah, it is.
But it's more, I'm very intrigued to watch more to figure out, okay, so it's separated from the rest of the world. What does that mean and why exactly? Like, what the hell is going on here?
I just
there's
want
one
to
way to
keep
find
looking
out.
at it. I just like, it's so beautiful to look at. The backgrounds are so interesting. The CG is so sparkly and just the lighting is so interesting. The character designs are cool. I'm very into how diverse they are.
And that's the other thing as well. The CG is actually good.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because
For
we
once.
haven't seen much good CG this year, and this
No.
seems a really good use of it.
Yeah.
So let's not beat around the bush. I'm the one who watched Jubiate,
You
and
did it for
no,
us.
don't watch Jubiate.
You did it so we
Poor
didn't
son
have
of a
to.
gun.
I did it so you don't
There are
have to.
plenty of contenders for the Arafureta Award.
They definitely are, including Arifureta, as always. Now, Talentless Nanana. This one we didn't mention Talentless Nanana in our season preview because we weren't sure if it was going to be good or bad.
Jury's still out in that one.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. It's
Yeah.
a confusing case, isn't it?
Well, I mean, this could go either way, couldn't it? Now, there's really no way to talk about it without spoiling it.
It's only the first episode,
But it's in the first episode.
But it does
you
have a
learn this.
twist.
It does have a twist, and that twist is that everything is not as it seems. This is not a story about these superhero students. It's actually a story about the enemies against humanity. In a way.
We've been seeing a lot of anime this year with twists like that, where you watch one episode and then the next episode is completely different.
Yeah.
Unless
Decadence.
there's all this extra other stuff in the background.
This just in, Japan discovers M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh my god.
Oh no! No.
I mean,
No.
kinda. That's it's kind of what it feels like. And Talentless, Nana. Anyway,
Banana
it
fish.
feels like, oh my god, guys, I'm trying to give you my opinions.
Sorry, Loz.
Mom says it's my turn on the podcast. Okay, Talentless Nana it feels like it's just taken My Hero Academia and not even tried to be different about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
they've literally got the same characters and the same tropes, and they even look the same.
Really?
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
really close.
Nanao, the male character who's introduced in the first episode, has the exact same color tone to his hair.
And he doesn't have
as
powers.
Deku.
And the rest of them do.
Yeah.
He's literally Deku.
He doesn't have
Inverted
powers.
commas, he doesn't,
doesn't
have
have
powers.
powers,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, he's going to eat one of All Might's hairs.
Yeah, exactly. And
Eat
then
this.
and then he gets about he's pretty much exactly Deku, and then there's a shoe
fire
in for
dude?
there's a shoe in for Katsuki, and
Then they've stolen Iceman from X-Men.
I mean, at the same time, one could say that the tropes in My Hero Academia and various other X-Men powers are always the
Fire
same,
and
repeated
ice.
over and over again. But this, it literally looks exactly like My Hero, and then it just kind of goes down a weird, lol, look at us. Actually, it's kind of flipped on its head.
It's a
kind of
Game ga Kill, or?
A Game ga Kill, which just was violence for violence sake.
If you know what that is, you'll kind of understand where
And
this is
kind
coming
of-
from.
Cute people being edgy and killing each other off eventually.
It's, I don't know. I feel like My Hero Academia and, what was the last Marvel film, Endgame? I feel like those were really the big swan song for this whole superhero genre. So throwing another one on this just feels a bit passe, honestly.
Okay. This is super off topic, but did you guys see the bringing the the three Spider-Men
I
back together?
don't know if that's
three
true.
Spider-Man.
I've seen so many
to make an
official
ultimate
sources
Spider-Man.
say
We're going to
it.
combine them like Voltron, and it's going to be
Well,
like the three Spider-Men all together.
Completely off topic, but apparently there is a possibility that the upcoming Sony Spider-Man film is a Enter the Spider-Verse featuring all prior
Tobey Maguire,
Tobey
Andrew
Maguire
Garfield,
and Andrew Garfield
and Tom Holland.
and Tom
could
Holland
be
in
cool,
one
could
film,
be cool.
which
I'm
would
so
be
down for
really
that.
cool. Which kind of, it plays into tying in the existing franchises to the current franchise, which is a good idea from a financial perspective.
So yeah, super off topic, but
Anyway.
yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Let's go. Let's keep going with the violence. And let's go super violence.
Violence.
This one is not okay for children. Higarashi when they cry. We did mention this in the last episode. It does have quite a high gore factor, so not for family viewing. But as we mentioned, this was one Loz was definitely interested in.
Hello.
And one that most of us aren't because we're not big on the gore. But I actually ended up sitting down and watching it. I actually really like it. I haven't got to, we're two episodes in, and I haven't got to any of the points where there is meant to be this violence. But damn, the storytelling's incredibly good.
It's very interesting, and I really enjoyed the way they did the first episode. It was absolutely copy and paste of the original series, which is a good thing. I'm very happy they did that. And they're not really diverging a lot unless you're a big Higarashi fan, and then you will notice a very interesting change that they've done. I'm super excited with how they go with the story. But in terms of the camera angles and kind of the horror psychological factor in terms of how it's inverted commas filmed and how it's directed, it actually didn't feel as scary as the original. I went back and watched the original first episode, and that felt scarier, just in terms of the close-ups and kind of the behind the head shots and just other ways that they use shots basically to make things scarier. But
They've done a really good job of
I still
building
really liked it.
suspense.
Yeah.
And, you know something is unnerving
Yeah.
and something is about to happen, but it's when is it going to hit?
what's going to happen? What's going to turn these people against each other? And that's what Higarashi is very interesting in terms of watching that. You're like, how do we get from A to B? What goes wrong?
And so I'm under the impression as well that this is technically a sequel. Is that right? Am I misunderstanding that? Because I haven't seen the first one.
Okay, well, basically, spoilers, so skip ahead like 20 seconds just in case. It's basically going to be a wrap-up of everything. So they're almost tying together everything at once, and they're kind of streamlining it.
All right, so
it's
because
not
Higarashi
really
was a
sequel.
visual novel,
Correct.
so obviously you've got those different paths that can be taken, and then it's how they address that and share as a story.
Yeah, and then so the anime is an adaptation of all of those different paths, and then the first one was, and then this one I feel like it's going to be a tie-in for everything. That's my take based on a few little clues from the new episode that you'd only pick up if you'd seen it before.
Now, obviously, Kenny, Aaron, this isn't your cup of tea.
Nope.
I think I saw bits of the first one on a parody show ages ago. But,
well, let's be honest. You and I came across most of it through AMV Hell, and we were just like, not going to watch that.
It's so much more than just the mindless violence. That's
It
the
is.
smallest part of the show.
that's
but
the spice on top of the cake of evil.
sure, pretty much.
All right,
Spice on cake.
An evil person.
An evil spicy cake.
guys, have you guys not had spiced carrot cake?
Oh, actually, that's nice.
That's inside the cake,
That's
not
what
on
happens
top.
when you take a carrot
Vegetable cake doesn't count as a cake, though.
cake. No, it's what happens when you take a carrot cake and sprinkle chili pepper on it.
Well, I
Spiced
mean,
carrot cake.
look, if we're following the American standard, technically pizza's a vegetable, so...
Exactly.
What is happening?
Yeah. Okay, so this episode ahead, it is Octoberween, and that means we need to talk spooky, scary anime.
Halloween.
And you can watch in the lead up to Halloween. Now, last year we did delve into the world of vampires. This time, we're diving into the non-corporeal world. The haunting stories, the ghastly tales. Yeah, we're talking ghost anime. Yeah. And you don't stand a ghost of a chance, Yugi-boy.
Yugi-boy. Can we talk Yu-Gi-Oh? Does this mean Yu-Gi-Oh? Can I get Yu-Gi-Oh? So Yu-Gi-Oh is the story about...
No.
About
Yu-Gi-Oh!
ghosts.
Oh,
Bad puns go to die.
then Aaron's mic is now off.
Quickly mute him
And
before
then
he
he plays
mentions
card
Yu-Gi-Oh.
All right. And hey, if you are new to the show, consider hitting that subscribe button and join the Kawaii-Fi community. We'd love to have you on board. You can find us across YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcasts, and we'd love to be in your pocket for your next day off. There's still plenty to talk about in this episode, so stay with us as we bring you the latest anime news.
Making headlines.
Really?
Sort of.
Anime news.
Well, it's time to start having a look at what's been going in the world of anime and manga the past fortnight. Let's start with something that we constantly talk about, and as several of our followers have pointed out on social media, were you guys excited for that? Lupin the Third, the first.
Yes, I am excited for that.
The first?
Yeah.
The
So
Is he
third-
the third or is he the first?
So
He's
it's
the
the
second.
first of the third, but he's
So-
still
so-
the third.
no,
but
so
this is the
so
first.
the film is called Lupin the Third, the First, and it's a story about a treasure the first arson Lupin couldn't steal.
Okay,
first,
so
third
we're
Lupin?
looping around.
We're looping
Oh,
around. Okay, so Lupin the Third, the First is the first CG film in the Lupin
Are you sure
franchise.
it's not the third CG first?
Stop. And it's going to act. So we've been waiting for this to come to cinemas. It's going to be screening the film in theaters in the US on October 18 and
third time.
21st. Shush.
That's tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. So that is the Sunday and then midweek for the subtitles. But the big news, because we did mention that those streaming details last episode, it's now releasing digitally on December 15
I love that-
worldwide.
That's good.
I love that they're
That's
doing
good,
that.
considering a lot of places are still pretty hard locked down.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't get
Yeah.
out to the cinema, so
we
streaming is better.
we don't know what platforms yet, but I imagine you can expect it to be on all the usual places, like across on Amazon, on Google, on pretty much all the platforms.
I figure once we know, we get a more definitive idea of where it's streaming, we'll hit it up.
As long as I don't have to pay $30 on top of my $30 Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
again, I probably would for Lupin. I wouldn't for
I would for Lupin if I got to own it
Bad
forever.
Mulan.
But here's the other thing: G Kids and Shout Factory have teamed up to release it on home media. Now it's coming out on January 12th. There is a steelbook edition
It looks really nice.
with a 16-page booklet with all the character concept art that was used to create it.
I love concept art. I love
I
art
love
books.
it.
I
So,
love when things come with art books.
Look,
Yes.
that's expected to go on sale in the next month through all the various groups. Keep an eye out. I believe in Australia it's going to be coming out through Madman, Shout Factory directly through in the US, and I think in the UK it's coming out through, what was it? something.
Aniplex?
No, that's the.
No, that's the company. No,
Sorry.
there's a company over there, and I can see the logo. It's a red box with an exclamation mark upside down. But we'll get there in the end. So look, that's we tried. That's the details on Lupin. Now, we'd mentioned Godzilla anime over a year ago.
Godzilla.
And we discussed how unlikely it was to see another Godzilla anime, Kenny and I. Because we were like, it doesn't really lend to the anime format because it's about the human struggles, and in anime you can't relate to them necessarily as much as people in at least that's the idea.
I feel
the idea.
I feel like certain companies could do it, but monster movie animes are, I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Certain companies like Studio Bones.
Yeah,
Wink.
Which is Godzilla Singular Point. So this is a new Godzilla anime. We're not sure the extent of the series. It could be 3 films. It could be a 12-episode series.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a 15-episode series with the way things go at the moment, because it's going to Netflix and globally next year. It's being developed by Studio Bones and Studio Orange.
Good
and they're
choice.
collaborating to combine hand-drawn and CG animation styles.
Red flag.
Unusual.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Are they gonna do like the entire like human side hand drawn and then like just Godzilla in CG?
That's
Probably.
kind of the concern, to be
That
honest.
sounds like Gibiate.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Except that Studio Orange is actually good at CG, and
Yeah.
the guys behind Gibiate are not.
I mean, maybe it might work.
The art that's been released so far is a hand drawn picture of Godzilla and a hand drawn picture of all the cast.
Well, that's a
However, whether they're the final product, we'll have to wait and see. So that's landing in 2021. We suspect mid-year. So keep your eyes open for that.
Alrighty.
And, of course, my favourite topic to always talk about, the Neon Genesis film. It's been delayed again. No. Technically, yes. Neon Genesis 3.0 plus 1.0, so the 4th Neon Genesis reboot film,
Wait.
opens on... No, don't.
Episode 3, part 2
Yep.
of the third Lupin.
Yep, Manchester City 3, Leicester 0.
So it's Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Dream Drop Distance Chain of
No.
Memories.
Featuring Dante from Devil May
Featuring Dante
Cry,
from Devil May Cry.
plus Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
All right.
No, you're close though. It's Neon Genesis Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time.
Oh my god.
Are you sure it's not first upon it? Yeah, okay.
I'm going to
Come
hurt
on,
you,
I'm ending
Kenny.
that joke now.
Kenny, you
Jokes
are
are
going to
my thing.
Kenny, you're going to be a ghost by the end of this episode.
Oh.
You don't stand a
I'm a
ghost of a chance. We're going to keep making that joke just like Yu-Gi-Oh did. So the film was originally delayed in June. It was meant to air in June.
I feel like
because
it was
COVID.
delayed from years ago.
Well, I mean, if you remember the original Neon Genesis timeline, we were meant to have all 4 films by 2012.
Wow, it's not 2012, guys.
Yeah.
Actually, it's real far after 2012.
Yeah.
Although we are experiencing the world ending again, so it might be 2012.
Well, I mean, I did make this joke
Got
on
him.
social media, but I still think the odds of seeing the 3rd Impact before we see the 4th Neon Genesis film is highly likely. December's empty,
my
as
God.
I hear, so, we
No,
Yay.
that's when we get giant Krampus.
Oh, that's true. But look, this is opening now on January 23rd in Japan. There is now a new teaser trailer, which does suggest that it is definitely actually almost done.
Yeah, and like that's really soon. So I'd like to think if they're dropping an actual teaser trailer, that maybe there actually is a movie that's done.
I don't know. I got a trailer for June, and now that's been pushed back from November to October.
Look, there was a
next
trailer for
year.
Bayonetta 3 way like what 5-6 years ago, and I haven't heard anything
Well,
since. So
I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, Neon Genesis 4 had a trailer at the end of Neon Genesis 3.
Yeah.
And that was 7 years ago. So,
so
you know.
look, it might get Cyberpunk pushed back, but we're
might get
excited for
Cyberpunk
it.
back.
Don't remind me of Spiderman.
All right, but look, the good news is, as we said, it has been delayed. The teaser debuted before the opening on Friday of the Demon Slayer film in
Oh, I'm
Japanese
so
cinemas.
excited for that.
So that's coming soon as well.
Are we
which
doing
means
that?
We will definitely be doing that.
hell yeah.
We're definitely doing that. But look, that's kind of the big topics we want to talk about, unless there's anything I've missed. I could be wrong.
Can we talk about? We found the scroll of truth.
Oh yeah, we found the
What?
scroll of truth.
What's the
This
scroll
is
of
very
truth?
important.
So last week, we were talking about a certain animation studio that we didn't know what the name was. We had sort of conflicting ideas.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
this is because they've crammed all the letters into a single one, but
And it's all lowercase.
letters are UFOTABLE.
Oh my god. Okay, I know what
Yeah.
you're
UFO
saying.
table,
Okay.
yeah.
No, yeah.
UFO
See, that's
So-
that's what
table.
Kyle thought it was.
So I thought it was UFO table.
That's how it's
Farah
written.
and I thought it was ufotable.
Yep.
I always read it as ufotable.
It's
until
neither.
someone said UFO table, and if you don't know what we're talking about, this is the really big studio. They've done most of the Fate Stay
do
Night.
Fate.
They've done beautiful, incredible things. They also did Demon Slayer.
Yes, they did.
So that's
Which was why
So
this
kind
was
of
brought up.
tying into that.
It reads as literally UFO and the word table, and I always thought it was what you said, Aaron.
No.
And what is it actually? Drum roll.
Youth or table.
Yes.
U for table.
Ufotable.
And it's like, oh,
The youth
Oh.
of tables.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool. None of us guessed this.
Or
That sounds
you
worse.
for the table. I mean,
No, me third table.
oh god.
Last
Kenny.
one.
Oh,
Leave the jokes to the comedian.
I'm leaving.
all right. Evangelion 3.4.
Cool.
We watch anime to not do
table.
maths.
We
Why
do.
are they making us do math?
Yep. Okay. Well, look. Let's get onto the headlines. Here's what's been making the news this week. Well, we're starting with some bad news for anime fans in LA. The 2020 Los Angeles Comic-Con event has been cancelled and rescheduled to September 2021. The convention was originally meant to take place from December 11th to 13th, but has been cancelled due to restrictions on events in the coming months. As we've seen with most festivals, ticket holders can get a refund or roll their pass over to next year's event. Fans of the 1998 anime film Spriggan will be excited to know a new anime series is in the works at David Productions. The series will adapt Takashige Hiroshi and Minagawa Ryoji's manga series from 1989, with the series debuting worldwide on Netflix in 2021. Along with Spriggan, several other manga are receiving adaptations. Laid-back isekai manga, I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level, will receive an anime in spring 2021, with Studio Revo Root in charge of the production. Award-winning manga series Makanai in the Maiko Lodge is also getting an anime adaptation in 2021, but strangely, it will be launching in February on NHK World. Science comedy series Science Fell in Love So I Tried to Prove It has revealed it will be receiving a second season, with the anime previously airing its first season in January 2021 on Crunchyroll, and upcoming Cloverworks original series Wonder Egg Priority has announced the series will premiere in January 2021. What it's about, we don't know yet, but the artwork is phenomenal. Funimation has announced Salt Lily Bouquet will now be releasing on Fridays due to delays in the series being delivered to the streaming platform for the past 2 episodes. The series was originally delayed to October due to the pandemic, and it seems the production team are having issues with providing the series in time for a simulcast schedule. Also on Funimation, viewers in the UK and Ireland are now able to stream both Clannad and Clannad After Story on the service. Over on the silver screen, the Demon Slayer film will be heading to North American theatres through an agreement with Funimation and Aniplex of America in early 2021. This means we'll likely see similar screenings in areas Funimation has a presence around the same time around the world. Both upcoming Fate franchise films have received updates this week, with the third Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel film heading to US cinemas on November 18th through Aniplex, and the first Fate Grand Order movie is heading to Japanese cinemas on December 5th. Heading to the bookshelves, with Itagaki Paru's Beastars coming to an end, there's a new mini project on the horizon for fans of the franchise. Beast Complex, dubbed as the origin of Beastars, will return for a new manga mini-series in January 2021, giving readers a wider look into the world of Rigoshi and his classmates live in. And both the Promised Neverland and Demon Slayer bonus chapters have received an English release thanks to Viz Media and Manga Plus. The 2 bonus one-shot mangas were released at the start of the month and can now be read on Viz's Shonen Jump app and Shueisha's Manga Plus service as of this weekend. And finally, in dub news, this year's Renaissance art tale, Arte, is getting the dub treatment at Funimation, with the series releasing on the platform each Sunday going forward. And that's your anime news for the week ending October 18th, 2020.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Anime history.
Yes, it is time for an anime history segment as part of our ongoing Halloween quest to scare people.
We failed.
We failed. Straight up, we failed.
We failed history?
We failed.
No.
It's okay. So
can't
look,
take it.
we set ourselves a very specific challenge, and that was to find ghost anime that are not yokai centric.
It's almost impossible.
Very
Yeah.
tricky. I mean,
Very tricky.
I figure this comes down to the whole cultural divide between like Japan folklore and your sort of the Western centric
Well,
folklore.
because the
Absolutely.
Western idea of ghosts is not very common in anime. I mean, unsurprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
So anime that has been including spirits in its storytelling pretty much since it started as a medium. And this meant that we had to rule out Yu Yu Hakusho, Toilet Bound Hanako-san, Spirited Away, Reikan, Natsume's Book of Friends, Mushishi,
Because
Blue
they
Exorcist, Noragami, Mononoke, Young Spirit Master. The list goes on.
They're sort of connected, but also not.
I think really when you come down to it, I think the main difference between the Japanese yokai stories versus like the Western kind of ghost stories is that all of the yokai stories, like, they're never really... It's not really ever a bad thing that there's like a ghost around, or like that yokai is there because of something happened to them or something like that as well. And it's
I mean, granted, you'll get
very
some
different.
evil yokai, but
yeah, like they've got reason to be there. Whereas like the Western idea of like, oh, a ghost is haunting someone, it's like it's a negative thing. But in Japanese folklore, it's like, oh, there's a ghost. It's here because it's a yokai, or it's been wronged in its life or something. It's not a bad thing.
That actually brings us to the first true ghost anime. And its name is Gegege no Kataru.
Yay!
Now, this is an anime which aired in the winter of 1968.
Wow.
It ran for 65 episodes into the spring 69, and it's adapted from a manga which ran from 1965 to 1986. This was written by Shigeru Mura. Well, I mean, that's his pen name. His actual name is Shigeru Mizuki. Now, he is considered the father of yokai. This
Interesting.
is now that the reason we say we can't use yokai. This is a little different. This series was immensely popular, and along with its many subsequent different series, and there's more than 10, it's made him a household name. He is from Saika Minato. That's Mizuki's childhood home, and he has a street dedicated to the ghosts and monsters that appear in his stories.
so
You might have
cool.
heard of this before if you've been looking at places to visit in Japan. So there's 100 bronze statues all along this street
I
of
have
the
seen
story's
this.
characters, line in both sides of the work, and there's also a museum at the end which features his creations.
So cool.
So why are we talking about yokai when we said we're not talking about yokai? Because the main character, Kitoru, is a young ghost. He is a boy who has passed away. He's not a yokai, he is actually a ghost. And he spends his afterlife helping humans in need of his skills. He thwarts the plans of evil spirits who live to torment humanity. He also finds Dracula in the Chinese Yasha.
What?
So,
He's Casper. He's a good ghost. And
Yeah.
I think that, like, most of ghosts from there onwards, they're all generally, like, they're kind of just around. Like, there's a
Yeah.
few series that I've seen where the ghost is featured as a main character, and they're never really bad. And I've got
Yeah.
a few that I'll mention that are, when I was coming across what should I actually do, and I was looking at Gege no Kataru because they did a remake recently as
yes,
well.
they did. There has been, I think, 6 different anime adaptations of it. There's about 15 different mangas. Then there's a spin-off one, which is there's a darker version, which is called Kitaru no something, without the Gegege, and it's like the more mature version of it. But this series is pretty much the first true ghost anime, and while it is still technically PG, it doesn't go too much into the horror side.
No.
So which is interesting, and that's something we're finding. The yokai series tend to be more willing to go into the dark and haunting horror sides, whereas if it's primarily a ghost character, not so much. They kind of have a more friendly focus, and as you said, Loz, I think that could be the Casper effect.
It's a very different view of death as well. Like our Western kind of general ghost stories, horror films, it's always like it's the worst.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a ghost, you don't want to haunt someone, kind of supernatural-esque. But then all of these kind of friendly, helpful ghosts of people that are still clinging to life in some way, it's very wholesome in a weird way.
Yeah, when I started looking into it's like just trying to find ghost as a keyword in anime, I came out with very few results. And like, as far as like your big kind of scary, spooky, Halloween-esque ghost stories, like kind of
Yeah.
the horror that you want to actually watch, I found like one major contender, Corpse Party.
Yeah,
It's kind of a popular
and we
title.
can't go there because that's R-rated.
Exactly.
And it's gore. And
It's
that's-
basically
It's slash
it's-
mainly.
Yeah,
so
it's
far.
kind of like Supernatural Saw, the anime.
Yeah, but the reason I wanted to talk about Gekage no Kitaru is because of this amazing review written on Mal by Mystic Nova.
Oh, I do love a good Mal review. Is that an unironic love or is it an actual love?
Is an actual love.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
wow. All right, let's go.
Fantastic spelling. Dis pretty dope. It got spooks and whatnot. It's got a kid beating up them spooky ghosts.
if it was.
He be using his sandals to beat them ghosts with. Them goals. He got the power of God to beat the demons with his spooky sandals. He lays the smackdown on the zombies and the Zionists. He destroys evil with his fist and whatnot. He a real man. He a powerhouse. He is love. This a good show. He'd one of the baddest mutters on the spooky planet. He like a bowling ball made out of concrete. He like the Ghostbusters, but he more powerful because he not take them ghosts and he wipe them butt with them.
I asked you if you're being serious. And I was like, hey, are you being serious about this good Mal review? I'd love
It is
to
a good
hear
Mal
it.
review.
I want this guy to make a YouTube channel.
I wanted to make a YouTube. Mystic Nova, if I'm very unlikely you are one of our listeners, but if you are, well done, mate.
Isn't there like a Doom guy thing like
Yeah.
similar to that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, just quickly, Gegege, isn't that the onomatopoeia for like a ghost laugh?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little.
It is. It's got a really nice catch to it. Yeah.
like Popeye.
It's kind of cutesy. And as Kyle was saying, like, he helps people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's helping humans and
With them sandals.
sandals.
With them sandals.
Is that actually how he fights ghosts?
I think
in the-
because that is like a traditional Japanese comedy thing, like similar to like dropping the bedpan on people's heads.
Take your sandals off.
La
Throwing the
Chancla.
sandals and throwing them at people is a joke thing too. And I think especially during the 60s when he was writing this, that was a very common
Yep.
comedy trope.
It's your grandma takes your sandals off and throws them
yeah,
at you.
exactly.
I'd watch that. That sounds great.
Okay, we all
Yeetus,
need to
Ghostest,
go
Deletus.
watch this show and then we'll come back. Okay,
will.
and go.
Now, I wish we had time to do that.
Same.
Let's talk about some of the more ghost animes before we get on to one that Kenny's done a deep dive for us because it's freaking phenomenal.
Oh, it's a great story.
I want to talk about Ghost Hunt. Now, Ghost Hunt was a 2006 series. This is sitting on a 7.8 on Mal at the moment, 25 episodes. And at first I was like, I don't know if this is all yokai, but it's not. It's definitely more of like the Ghostbuster, Ghost Hunter style show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So while at a school, Tamiyama Mai and her friends like to exchange ghost stories. Apparently there's an abandoned school building on their campus, and that's the center of many of these ghost stories.
Classic.
Are there
So-
always abandoned school buildings
Have
that
you
are
not heard?
haunted?
Well, we are going to be doing an episode on the myth of the 7 school
The
mysteries.
7 mysteries of the school.
That
There's
every
someone in
school
the
has.
girls'
I
bathroom.
mean, there's gotta be-
a
It's me.
missing stair.
There's got to be thousands of high schools across Japan. Do
Yep.
they all have a haunted abandoned building? Are they-
Obviously.
it's like, does that go onto the blueprints of constructing a building? Okay, we're building the gym over here, and we're going to have a haunted, unused hall over here. Why?
Cars.
Everyone has one.
Well, essentially someone interrupts them while they're having a chat about their ghost stories, and this person turns out to be Shibuya Kazuya, a 17-year-old who is president of the Shibuya Psychic Research Company, and he was called by the principal to investigate said haunted area. So the next day, on the way to school, Mai passes the school building in question and examines a strange camera she spotted inside. Gets surprised, unknowingly interferes with the investigation, breaks the camera, and injures the assistant. As she is now forced to work for the agency, and they begin to learn about the paranormal world and go ghost hunting.
I remember watching this years ago. Like, wait, when did it come out?
2006.
2006. Yeah, I probably watched it maybe about 10 years ago though. So I
Yeah.
still didn't watch it when it just came out.
Its animation quality was great for its time.
It is actually
Yeah.
really good, and I did enjoy it. The only thing I didn't like, and is that it just kind of finishes.
Yeah.
It really needed either a sequel or just like 3 more episodes just to kind of tie it up. Also, there was the cute romance plot as well, and Kazuya's quite cute, and
So
etc.
a little rushed then, or
No, like there was little mini arcs about the different ghosts that they were investigating, and it was a really pretty good, solid anime. Like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. The characters were pretty good. It was refreshing to see that kind of like pretty much supernatural, as in like Winchester's
Yeah.
supernatural kind of style show in anime. It was kind of cool to see that, but
Yeah.
it did just. they finished the case. And it was like, well, that's the end of the series. Bye now. Like, oh no, wait.
This suffered from the all too familiar fate that we had happen with many anime in the early 2000s, like Fullmetal Alchemist and Hellsing, where they caught up to the manga.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have enough.
We're talking about another series that does that again later.
Yeah, we are. So look, the Ghost Hunt was pretty good, but let's go from the paranormal to the pararomantic. Natsuyuki Rendezvous.
I love this show.
Yeah, now this has a MAL rating of 7.29. 2012 it came out, 11 episodes. Ryosuke Hazuki is a young man whose heart has been stolen away, stopping by the local floral shop daily in order to catch a glimpse of the beautiful Roka Shimao, the shop's owner. In hopes of getting close to her, he decides to get a part-time job at the shop, but before he's able to make his move, he runs into a major roadblock. In her apartment dwells a ghost, her deceased husband.
Ooh.
Crikey.
So he Atsushi Shimao has been quietly watching over his widowed wife ever since he passed 3 years ago. However, Hazuki is the first person to ever see him, and the two quickly find themselves at odds. Jealousy ensues, and obviously Shimao attempts to thwart the advances of our main character, Hazuki. Hazuki simply wants the ghost to pass on for good, allowing Roka to move on herself. So both men refuse to let go of their desires, and an unusual relationship forms between a troubled woman, an unrelenting ghost, and a stubborn man in love.
I loved this show. I watched it when it first came out, so I was watching it week to week. And it's just a really interesting look at kind of loss as well. The husband's still very much just attached to obviously his wife. He still loves her, and he can't let go. He doesn't want to move on, and it's a very sweet show, but it does hit you right in those feels. It's beautiful. It's also beautifully animated, and
that's something we found a lot with a lot of these ghost animes. It's not about haunting.
No.
It's about grief.
Yes, absolutely.
Most animes which feature a character as part of the main roster who's a ghost is typically about grief, moving on, letting go, and essentially the whole the 5 stages of death: the denial, the grief, and so on. And acceptance. So there's that very similar theme across a lot of these stories wherever there is a ghost, which is one of the main characters. Yeah.
So it pretty much, we ended up with starting this episode being like, let's be spooky, ghosts, woo! And then we ended up being like, okay, well,
you're going to cry.
All of the ghost stories we have pretty much are all sad, so let's cry instead.
Well.
Unless.
No.
No, some of them are fun.
We got some fun later.
Look, these are all great shows. We wouldn't recommend them otherwise. Before we do get onto a genuinely spooky one, we're going to talk about Dusk Maiden of Amnesia. Now, this came out in 2012 as well, 7.87 on MAL, so it's the highest rated out of all the ones we're talking about in this segment at least. This is, once again, set in a school, Seikyu Private Academy, built on the intrigue of traditional occult myths. It bears a dark past. For 60 years, it's been haunted by a ghost known as Yuko, a young woman who mysteriously died in the basement of the old school building. With no memory of her life or death, Yuko discreetly finds and heads the Paranormal Investigations Club in search of the answers.
Classic club.
So a chance meeting leads Yuko to cling to a diligent freshman called Taichi Nia, who can see the quirky ghost. They quickly grow close and he decides to help her. This is essentially a ghost story where they're looking for the murderer and the ghost is a troll. And she's teasing him the entire time. It's great.
It does actually end up kind of really developing the story as well. But something I did want to mention about Dusk Maiden is the first episode is really, really good. So if you're just kind of interested in kind of a like ghost, it's very much a romance as well. Bit of romance, a little bit of drama, mainly comedy. Watch the first episode because it's really well made. If you're going to watch it, I mean, skip ahead a little bit. But for those who are just intrigued, it's basically you see everything. You see the first part of the episode is without seeing the ghost is there, and kind of little funny things are happening, and the door's falling open and like things are falling off the table or whatever. And then the second half of the episode is exactly the same scenes, but you can see the ghost.
Which was done like
My Roommate is a Cat.
Yeah.
Where it shows the twin perspectives.
The two different perspectives.
That's
and
wonderful.
I really enjoyed that. I liked the series. It did kind of fall off at the end, I feel. and the romance kind of got a bit weird because, you know, that's the thing with Natsuki Rendezvous is you can't actually love a ghost.
Yeah.
But they do that in this, and they do.
You can try.
They try. Boy, howdy, do they try. So yeah, I like Dust Maiden, but I don't think it should be the highest rated out of these ones.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It's probably the
it also
most
delves
interesting.
into those infamous 7 mysteries of the school
Classic.
as well, which all most of these school ones do. So look, let's jump onto something that is definitely not rated for families. This is definitely a more adult series due to the violence factor. It's called Another. Guess what? Also came out in 2012. Did it?
So we got another one?
Really? I feel like it shouldn't have come out in 2012. That doesn't feel
Do
right.
I even need to say it?
That
No,
doesn't
you don't.
feel right. Surely Another didn't come out in 2012.
I'm pretty sure it did, actually.
It couldn't be 8 years old. Am I that old?
Yes, we're old, sweet.
We
We're
are
old?
We are
Kyle,
old.
there's always another anime every year.
No!
There it is. There it is, everyone.
Oh, the puns keep coming.
You want me to do another third joke?
No.
Google says 2012.
Oh, okay. Well, look. Another. This is.
You don't sound
without-
enthusiastic, Loz.
Loz is not enthusiastic on Another, and I understand why.
Look, okay. Another is kind of like what we were talking about before with Talentless Nana. Now, this is actually Talentless Nana would have done well in 2012.
It would
because
have.
people really liked Another, but also it got hated on a lot as well. And
Yeah.
I'm probably in the second camp because it is just kind of very like emo, very edgy,
Yeah.
kind of violence for violence sake, and they're all cute girls, but they keep dying, but in a different way to Higarashi, which is more like psychological and
Yeah.
explores very different topics, whereas Another was just like people keep dying in the school.
Another kind of was a very base level story. Like there wasn't any like while there was an underlying story beneath it all, you didn't have to dig too deep for it. It didn't require you to think. I think it's probably the easiest way to explain
Yeah,
it.
it's a really good, I tell you what, it is a very good entry level kind of horror anime, which is why it's funny that it's called Another. And I think it is because it's just another
It's just another
horror
entry-level
anime,
horror
but it's
anime.
actually, you know what, it's fine. It kind of feels like School Days, but with ghosts and just kind of.
Well,
you know.
let's be honest. It's School Days, but with decent characters.
That's also fair.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just kind of, it's fine. It's
so look,
fine.
it's 12 episodes. There is an OVA, but the OVA is like a prequel to the show. But if you haven't heard of Another, it's set in a school.
Of course
So
it is.
in 1972, a popular student in the Yomiyama North Middle School's class 3-3 named Misaki passed away during the school year. Since then, the town of Yomiyama has been surrounded by a fearful atmosphere from the dark secrets hidden deep within. 26 years later, 15-year-old Koichi Sakabera transfers into class 3-3 at the school and soon discovers that a strange, gloomy mood seems to hang over all the students. He also finds himself drawn to the mysterious eye patch-wearing student, Mei Misaka. Not Ray, Mei. So, you know, why not? However, the rest of the class and the teachers seem to treat her like she doesn't exist. Pay no heed to warnings from everyone, including Mei herself. Koichi begins to get closer not only to her, but also to the truth behind the gruesome phenomenon plaguing Class 3-3 of Yomiyama North.
See, my whole thing about it was I enjoyed watching it because I was trying to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
That's always fun, though. That's the best part about mystery series, though. is
You
you're
were trying to solve
them.
it before another one bit the dust?
Oh my god.
No, that was actually good.
It was good. It was really good, and that's why. But look, it's one of those series which does have a high violence factor, and you do have to be wary of it when going in.
Yeah.
It is look if you're not squeamish by a bit of violence, a little bit of gore, not like over the top, and you're interested in getting into horror anime, this is a good starting point.
This would be a good entry level, yeah.
If you can handle someone falling down the stairs and impaling themselves on their own umbrella, then that's fine. You're in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Aaron's out.
I'm
Aaron's
out. Time's out. See you guys.
The worst thing is I discovered, like many horror anime, me and Kenny discovered Another because of AMV Hell, and someone put the Family Guy scene over that where
You know, I'm not going to call an ambulance or you won't learn anything.
it's like, whoa.
That's pretty. Look, and I remember seeing that scene from Another and just kind of laughing because it was just so over the top.
Over the top.
It's a
And,
ridiculous
the
way to
lighting
go.
was red and it was just so overplayed. But
Yeah.
again, it was still. It was.
I feel like that was a callback to Psycho myself.
Yeah,
I
look,
feel
it was,
like
it was
that
pretty
was,
good.
you know.
There are elements of it which work well in that regard. Okay, now that brings us to the last one we want to talk about, which is called Kaidan Restaurant. Now, a lot of people might not have heard of this one because it's actually aimed at kids. Kaidan Restaurant is a TV series which is based on a picture book. And each episode consists of 3 stories or dishes: the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert. Now, the first 2 dishes deal with an ordinary 6th grade schoolgirl named Aka Ozara and the bizarre occurrences that befall her classmates. So it's set with these 6th grade students. Obviously, because it's that, it's, you know, a lot lighter, a lot more family orientated. The third dish is a standalone ghost story told by Aka and her friends about a real ghost story from the world.
Cool.
So they've taken ghost stories from all across the world that have been told and shared and turned them into an anime as the third part of each episode.
But it's directed at children. So
It
they're
is directed
obviously
at
not
children,
that
so
scary.
you're not going to get like the equivalent of a Jack the Ripper retelling sort of thing. You know, they won't go to that level of detail. They'll focus on, like, you know, just how it was told. Someone ran out of the house, or, you know, someone was haunted in a school or something like that.
Yeah.
But they do it in obviously the way that's accessible to kids, to introduce them to supernatural in a non-threatening way, so that they're aware that these things are a thing. And that came
so
out.
when they grow up and supernatural occurrences actually happen to them, they'll be fine. We're like, it's a friendly.
They're
Everybody
just
has that
prepping.
phase.
They're just
Yeah.
prepping for high school.
They're
All
in
high schools
6th
have a
grade.
haunted building.
They're going to have to get used to the haunted building and the missing stair and the 7th special things in the
And
school.
that kid
so,
throwing sandals at the
yep,
ghosts.
there's a kid throwing sandals. So
So
sorry.
look, this came out in 2009. It's 23 episodes. Obviously, this, as I said, is primarily aimed at kids. We're not, like, as adults, we're probably not going to get a lot out of it. But for any of you listeners who have kids, this would be a good one to show them, because it also does have a dub, to my knowledge. I'm not sure where it is. You might have to actually buy the DVDs physically. But it's on a 7.2 on Mal. And that's quite good, considering that this is a kids show. Most kids shows sit around the 4 or 5 mark.
Yeah, and like
So-
if a kids show is getting reviewed well on my anime list, it's probably only been watched by people who actually like it. So it's unlikely that people who are just casual anime fans or people that watch everything every season have sat down and watched it, because they're not going to watch the kids shows.
Yeah.
They're going to watch things that actually are the big names of the season.
Yeah.
So it must be the people who are actually paying attention to it. So that's actually pretty good. It's good to know.
So this brings us to a last couple of things on the list that we need to talk about, just quickly in passing. So these are some other shows which have ghosts in them, but are not necessarily ghost series, if that makes sense. Nanana's Buried Treasure, that came out about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was a
You
More than-
and I were watching
Way
it,
more
Kenny.
than that. You're again.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny and I tried to watch it. We got to the 3rd episode and went, "What? Nah." But Nanana is the main one of the main characters in it, and she is a ghost.
It was just very tonally inconsistent.
Yeah. Then there's also the manga Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. Bit of an adult warning for it. It's not, perverse, but it is not for kids, because
No,
it's a
it's
Hot
not for
Springs
kids.
series.
It's
but it's really
No.
cute. So it's basically a guy ends up owning a hot springs, and Yuna is the ghost who haunts one of the rooms. It's the relationship between them, with him obviously preventing more occult things coming to the hot springs, and her going, "Oh, but I want them to come and bathe here, like in Spirited Away."
And he's just like, no way, and rips off his sandals to attack them.
Yeah.
Well, more like she rips off her clothes. Etchy scenes ensure. It's an
Yeah.
etchy show.
He rips off her sandals.
Yeah,
Plenty of
exactly.
steam.
And
There's
of
plenty of
course,
steam.
we, as Aaron mentioned, we cannot talk about ghosts
can, actually, quite
without
easily.
talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yami Yugi.
So Yu-Gi-Oh! I forgot my dual disc today. Can I just go grab it real quick?
No,
Oh.
we don't have time.
So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about like this 3,000-year-old pharaoh spirit trapped in the Millennium Puzzle. Like season 0 of
I thought you were
Yu-Gi-Oh!
going to say he was trapped in a millennial.
I mean, he
That's
is at the
basically
same
what
time.
it is. Yes, he's trapped inside this small millennial boy.
Season 0 is completely different to what we got over here in the West for season 1, where like
Well,
it's
because
all
we got
card
the
games.
4Kids version, didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah.
Is that the one
See-
with the green-haired Kaiba?
Yes.
I've seen
Season
abridged.
0 is like really intense. Like there's a
Yeah,
scene
people
where
die,
a guy
don't they?
sets himself on fire.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the heck?
So
Yeah,
you,
as a part
card
of a
games,
shadow
not
game.
for kids anymore, it seems.
Well, it wasn't card games. That was before they had the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game.
Oh.
team.
It's the original game.
Yeah,
Oh,
where the
wow.
Pharaoh would play shadow games with people,
Oh.
where it was just different things. Like there was one where he and another kid were hanging from a school roof and playing with card games, or like a 52 card deck.
Like a normal traditional card deck.
And then depending on what card they flipped was how many steps up they went, and then the other person went down that many steps.
Oh.
So it's so
it definitely has a lot
original.
darker tone.
A much darker
What
tone.
the
Like it was
hell
life
is
or death.
season 0?
Season 0 is amazing, and I highly recommend it
It
if
is
you
very
would like
So
that
did
darker
season
twist.
0 come out first in Japan and was never released to the West?
Exactly.
Until a lot later.
There was even like a whole D&D thing where Yami Bakura, because like they still had the same characters, well, most of them, except they were just not playing card games.
They were just
And like all their
Trolling
spirits got
each other.
infused into their D&D characters, and they had to go through like this whole thing, and their souls were trapped.
Yu-Gi-Oh goes places, and then there's like in the manga as well. There's this whole section where it shows you when they're actually in Egypt, when they're playing the original Shadow games, when they're actually their original people that they've reincarnated from.
Yes.
I can't remember. It's
I'm
been a long
pretty sure
time.
that was like part 5 of the original.
Basically, Yu-Gi-Oh more than card games.
Way more
Who
than
knew?
card games.
more than card games on motorcycles.
More, I mean,
But the merchandise made the money, so
Yeah.
gotta
That's
cash
the way,
out.
isn't it? Okay, so that's kind of our dive into the history of ghost style anime, and as we said, surprisingly to us, and maybe unsurprisingly for avid ghost fans, not a lot of horror or spooky based ghost series.
Yeah, we were not expecting that.
No, but we've got 2 more ghost stories to tell you about, and we'll be right back with the first one after this. Don't go anywhere.
Kawaii-Fi Radio. I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back Catalogue.
Yes, it is time to get stuck into the back catalogue, and the first show off the bat is a wonderful one. It is once again all about grief. It is about sadness. It's many tales of wonderful loveliness, and I'm actually really surprised I didn't actually watch this until this week.
Honestly, same. Like it's wow.
Wow. So we're talking about AnoHana, and I believe Loz is our expert. She is the expert on this one. And damn, it's good.
it is beautiful. And hey, it's me. I like watching things that make me cry. Who
Yep.
knew? So from the Loz that bought you Natsume's Book of Friends, I'm here to show you AnoHana, the flower we saw that day. Or also known as we still don't know the name of the flower we saw that day.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense until the final episode, but it does eventually.
Fate, granddaughter of the mysterious
No.
flower who's
Well, Fate is about ghosts, so
It is
Hey.
technically. Oh, Fate is technically about
is.
ghosts.
Sorry.
We are
Anyway.
playing in the AnoHana space, and we will not talk about anything else. I swear to God.
All right. So
Lads.
this came out in April 2011. Is that right?
March 2011.
March 2011.
Oh no, that's the
Well, April
that's
season.
the novel. Yeah, April
So
season. Yeah.
here's the thing. This is on an 8.45 on Mal.
I thoroughly
with
think it
over
deserves it.
600,000 reviews.
Yep, I gave it a 9 personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, even almost a decade later, it's had that staying power.
Absolutely. Before I tell you a bit about AnoHana, I just want to talk about things that I like in series generally. And I don't really care what genre it is. If it has fleshed out interesting characters that go through some sort of growth, they can get worse as people, they can get better as people. I don't care. As long as they change from A to B, I'm happy. I want a conclusion. I want a nice progression in story, and I want a nice little neat bow in the end that hopefully doesn't take too many side quests along the way.
Yeah.
And AnoHana is just a perfectly written series through the entire series of episodes. It's 11, 12 episodes, and it's just paced beautifully. It just flows so lovely. All the characters go through growth, and for such a short series, you learn a lot about this quite a large cast of characters,
Yeah.
and you get the flashbacks, you get all about their lives, and then does tie in a neat little bow. And I think that's something that particularly these days we don't get very often.
We really don't.
And I really kind of hesitate sometimes to be like, hey, you should watch this show. It's great. I know I just said we were just talking about AnoHana, but I was watching Hunter x Hunter again because I started rewatching that, and that's 41 episodes.
something ridiculous.
But
That's
this one
hard to recommend.
This one you can crack out in an afternoon,
Yeah.
and indeed, I think we all.
It's like
kind
a
of did.
movie and a
Yeah.
half in terms of length,
Yeah,
or like two movies.
it's 11 episodes.
Yeah.
Produced by A1 Pictures. It's an original anime.
Yes, it is.
So this was created. There's actually this really cool little story about that. So I was like, oh, this has got a connection with the recent film Her Blue Sky. which we've mentioned a few times in passing. We haven't watched it because it hasn't come out over here yet.
That's why I didn't know it. Cool.
That was created by director Nagai Tatsuyuki, character designer Masayoshi Tanaka, and writer Okada Mari, who is a prolific writer. Same three people who created this. Same three people who also created the Anthem of the Heart. Okada Mari did "O Maidens in Your Savage Season," "A Whisker Away," "Makai When the Promise Flower Blooms." This is also the team that was behind Totodoro, the girl... Toradora.
Hanasako Iroha, which is about the sweet girl in the Hot Springs series. That was really good. Lull in the Sea.
Yep.
Nagino Asakura. Anyway, that's also on Netflix. Everyone go watch that.
Yeah.
We'll do that sometime. Kisniver, O Maidens. Really just solid writing.
Yeah.
And that definitely comes through, especially in AnoHana.
And it's not that it sticks to any like particular genre, but they maintain that very, very consistent character development in everything that they do as well.
Yeah.
Love consistent character development. It's my jam. That's what I want.
All right. Well, regale us with the tale of AnoHana.
I will tell you the very base premise because I don't want to tell you too much, but this is kind of all you need to know going into AnoHana. So Menma is a young girl that dies at the age of 10. After her death, all of her friends from the friend group, and that is the cast of characters that we have, all go their separate ways. The death in their friend group really tears them apart. 5 years later, she returns as a ghost, haunting one of the boys in the group. She basically says, you need to fulfill my wish, and then I can be put to rest. So he now needs to go and gather that friend group back, despite how they've all changed and how they don't talk to each other anymore, and they have all these conflicts between them, so they can put Menma to rest. And it is a beautiful show about grief and loss and moving on, but also it's incredibly funny sometimes. It's joyful, and it really shows off the joy in living and the joy of togetherness and connectedness. And I think it is just a lovely show about grief and loss and also growing apart.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things about it. And I actually got very emotional because I think we've all had friends, family, whether you've lost them or whether you've just grown apart from other people. People grow apart over time. You change and people change, and that's okay. And it was kind of almost a celebration of that's okay if people grow apart. But if you want to, you can extend that olive branch and you can bring people back together. And it's a really lovely series.
Now, I actually really love the way the story addresses trauma at a young age as well, and shows then the varying impacts it can have on different people. Yeah, because
they're only 10 when she dies.
Yeah, so whether it's retreating from the world, having anger issues, depression, or becoming, a little bit strange, it handles it in a really mature manner. It doesn't kind of just go, oh yeah, no, they're all fine, or they all have the exact same thing. It shows a range of effects it can have.
There's also this fascinating theme about like growing up, growing old, but also sort of embracing your childhood as part of like as part of a catharsis of remembering who you were and what you're becoming.
That nostalgic feel, which is always present in a lot of anime, is that nostalgia factor and remembering your childhood. But yeah, absolutely. I think what you said, Kyle, as well, everyone shows grief differently. And this show really brings into light how people process, whether it's just completely block it out, whereas it's become a hermit, it's traveling the world, it's finding other friends. It's very different. And I think that's really wonderful to have a show that talks so openly about that. And I think, we just finished Mental Health Week, everyone. Happy Mental Health Week. Watch this show and kind of have a little little mental health week for yourself.
A nice short breakdown after
you will cry, but it's a wholesome cry.
It is.
It's not, it's not like Angel Beats.
And I feel like
it's just a cry of sadness.
Yeah, like shows like Angel Beats, which we also probably could have done. Shows like Angel Beats, I feel like they're set up to, inverted commas, make you cry. Yeah. Like the whole purpose is to make people upset. And things like Clannad as well, which I absolutely adore, particularly After Story. It does have a lot of like sad moments in it, but AnoHana kind of leaves you feeling happy. Like sad things happen, but they are resolved through the characters, trying their best and doing what they can to help themselves and such. And I think that makes it very wholesome. I had a wholesome cry.
Yeah, and also like this is something that we've talked about on a few shows in the past couple of weeks actually. the way it's been storyboarded and constructed, this is shot and presented like a film. They use a lot of filmic options for the language in it. And I keep wanting to say, as I said, the way it's filmed. It's not, but it does a remarkable job of telling the story through the language of the film as opposed to just, literally saying it.
Actually, there was an observation I wanted to make on that. I don't even think this is spoilerific because we know that the character is a ghost and does ghosty things. But later on in the show, she starts to interact with objects, things that sort of have a particular significance to her diary, her notebook, stuff like that. And whenever they show that, they sort of, this is anime. You can make fire come out of a monkey's head and someone fight God with a laser sword. But they choose not to show anything dramatically supernatural. They do instead extreme close-ups on the things she's holding. And you'll see like her fingers holding it, or you'll see an interaction she's had with something. But the rest of the characters will interact as though, oh, it's spooky, the thing is floating. It's almost like they were using the kind of the film techniques of, say, like, of a low budget kind of student film. It's like, look, I'm a ghost, this thing is floating, but you're not going to see it floating. But you could, but they don't.
And I wanted to, like, on that kind of jumping off that, when I was first watching this, I was thinking that, and this, if again, it might be a little bit of spoiler, so if you want to keep to yourself, this is just something I was thinking that the show was going to go in terms of direction. I thought it was actually always going to be that Menma wasn't there. That it was a figment of his imagination.
So sort of a
that was
Fight
his way
Club
of grieving.
Tyler Durden thing.
Sure, maybe not Fight Club, but like but that kind of idea. Yes.
I am Jack's adorable teenage girl.
But the idea that actually was his grieving process and she wasn't there all along. And when people are trying to help him through it, she actually, in the end, that wasn't a thing. And I thought that's where it was going, but then it did actually become supernatural, which was also good.
There are definitely a few moments where it reinforces that, where you're like, okay, it's done, and then it's not, and she's there, and you're like, is he holding on to her mentally, or is she hanging on for him, or...
Well, that's a big part of it as well.
Like,
what is... And I think that's something that all of the ghost stories that we've even mentioned, whether it's another with its slasherific bits, whether it's the kind of ecchi romance of Dust Maiden or Natsuki Rendezvous, they're all... And this as well. They're all about what is that person holding on to that they can't move on for. And this entire show is about... What does Menma wish for? She doesn't know. She can't remember why she can't move on. And neither can any of the friends that have to work together. And what's holding that person to this world? Why can't they move on? And I think that's...
It's really well done. I want to talk about the music briefly because it's incredibly well used in the series. It doesn't overpower. There's a lot of music used lightly in the background. It just kind of hits the nail on the head for the feel. But the opening and closing, so the OP is a song called Blue Bookmark by Galileo Galilei. Yep, that is the name of the band. The whole, both the animation and the way they've tied the music together are beautifully produced. Wow. The lyrics are also really touching and relevant to the series. And this is a song that wasn't written for the series. This was an existing song.
Just well picked.
The final line that you hear is, I'm hoping we'll be able to meet again. There must be something wrong with me. And it's just like, you're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Yeah, it's after you watch the final episode and then hear the OP again, you kind of cry a little.
It's very emotional.
Cry a lot.
The ending's pretty haunting as well because that's actually a cover. And that's been sung by the female voice cast of the show.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
really
so
cool.
the original was released in 2001. The song's called Secret Base, which they have in the anime, Secret Base, by a band called Zone. They were an all-female rock band that were originally idols, and then they became, so the genre they became known for is rock dolls. And the song is actually their biggest hit. It did really well in Japan, and they've obviously done this cover 10 years after the fact. And made it a bit more haunting, a bit more spooky.
They've resurrected it from the dead.
With a wild Ouija board through the mountain. And then there is also the film. Now, we were discussing this, you and I, Loz, about whether or not I should watch the film.
And I haven't seen the film.
And I haven't either. Has anyone else seen the film?
I went looking for it and found that there is a live action version.
There is a live action
There's live action. There's the film we were actually ended up talking about is there is basically a recap film, which is something they do a lot in Japan, and there's also a sequel film.
So there's a recap film and a sequel film. Now, the sequel film is called, where have I put it on my notes? Menma e no Tegami, a letter to Menma. So the group of kids called themselves the Super Peace Busters. It's also actually the name of the team of individuals who make the show.
Super cute.
So the surviving cast member agreed to each write a letter to Menma and meet at the secret base to send those letters a year after the anime ends. Now, memories of the traumas and good times they went through. Some are taken from the anime as a little bit of a recap, but a lot of them are new or expanded stories with new animation and further dialogue.
Really,
which was
really
missed.
want to watch it. I didn't realize it existed.
I got to tell you, I kind of don't want to watch it.
I also respect that because it is so perfectly finished. Like you're like, I'm satisfied with this ending, and I'm actually chill with not knowing what happens next.
There was another one a couple of years ago, Astra Lost in Space.
Yeah.
Sci-fi. It's basically Among Us, the anime. That's how it's being named these days.
Yep.
But the whole thing of it was that it was this wonderful story that had a beginning and an ending. It was wrapped up nicely. It was like, pulling a book off the shelf, having a read, putting it back on the shelf. I feel like adding more to it would almost cheapen it.
So, the way Astra ends is without being spoilerific, there's a Harry Potter-esque ending 10 years on sort of thing at the end of it.
So would you say this movie would be kind of along...
It's a similar thing, yeah.
I might check it. It's only a year later.
But the thing is that the situation with Astra Lost in Space is you do want to know what's happened after it, because it's a case of they get to a certain point and that's a big climax of the story, and then you either have the choice of to show the immediate result of that, or you can jump ahead to expand on where they've been, and
that the Harry Potter ending as well.
Whereas I think with AnoHana, because the way it's meant to end, you don't need to watch the film. But if you want more, it's there. I think it's it's a good option. It'll be done in good faith and it won't spoil the original content.
I can respect that.
Yeah, it's like if you want to spend some more time with the characters, here you go. You may have this. But I think that something that's really nice about the ending of this series is that everyone's going to be okay. Yeah. You're like, they've all grown through this together and they've all grieved in their own way and they've all kind of come to where they need to be, and they're gonna be okay. Whatever comes up against them, they'll deal with it together, and that's really nice.
Yeah. Well, look, AnoHana is on Netflix, I believe, worldwide at the moment.
Yes, watch the dub. I watched the dub.
Dub's
I was
actually
really impressed.
Exceptionally good.
The sub and dub, they're both incredible. I love them.
The reason why I'd say watch the dub, friends, is the localization's really good, because I went and watched the first episode in dub and in sub, and the way that they just localize the slang and stuff like that for English is really, really good. So watch the dub if you can.
I hit it up on Crunchyroll. They have the dub as well, and yes, perfect.
Yeah, beautiful. Right, we'll be right back after this because we're going to go a little bit shamanistic.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Back Catalogue.
Alrighty, so Kenny, you did make a good point. We forgot to talk about ghost stories.
Oh no.
We'll talk about that in the outro because that's a bit wacky. Because it needs to be heard to be believed. Aaron.
Yes.
Not Kenny, Aaron.
Aaron Kenny, yes.
What's the go with Shaman King?
Shaman King. Okay, beautiful series. I was introduced to it a little late by one of my primary school friends, and it's so good. It's very much one of those typical shonens where you've got this kid who finds he's grown up in a shaman family, and he's told that there's a Shaman King tournament. It's going to be your generation, so you're going to have to represent our family in it, and it's your job to become the Shaman King, and the Shaman King can save the world.
Getting Dragon Ball vibes, yeah.
There are a lot of questions in that, yes, but it paces out really well. There's a lot of characters, and you see them all grow really well. Each character's got their own goal as the Shaman King. Rio, who's one of the first sort of antagonists you meet, who becomes a friend very quickly, sort of like the Vegeta treatment.
Oh yeah.
His thing is he wants his sacred hang for his gang, which is a place for just them where they can just sort of have their space.
That doesn't seem like a reason to become king.
Yeah, but he can't find anywhere else. His gang's called the Outcasts or something, and they get kicked out of everywhere else. So they're like,
I'm sure you don't need to become king for that.
So becoming king of the land and having your own castle, that'd be an epic hang.
He's also got a pompadour that's half a mile long. So great character.
All right. So wait, when you say shaman, so that's generally because I have no idea about this series at all. I've seen it in passing. I know nothing about it. So Shaman generally being like a mystic, like a medium who can kind of
converse
divine
with spirits.
things. Okay, so
I have got the plot here, if that helps.
Oh, go for it.
A battle is about to begin in Tokyo, the Shaman Fight, a tournament held every 500 years where Shaman, those who can command spirits, confront each other in combat. The victor of the contest becomes the Shaman King, and only one who is able to contact and control the Great Spirit, allowing them to reshape the world as they please through its immense power. And during a late-night walk, Manta Oyamada runs into his classmate, the carefree Yu Asakura, who invites him to come stargazing with some friends who, to Manta's horror, turns out to be ghosts from a local cemetery.
Yep.
cute.
Yep.
Oh, okay then.
So, however, the knowledge that Manta possesses, a rare sixth sense that allows him to see those spirits, endears the boy to Yu. So when Yu finds out that his new comrade has been beaten up by a local gang, he decides to avenge him with the help of the Amadamara, a samurai ghost whose tomb was broken by the gang leader.
Yes.
Nice.
Samurai
Amidamaro is
ghost.
beautiful.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so just questions before I get into anything.
Here's the thing, though. They're holding a tournament which allows you to command a great spirit to reshape the world as you wish.
Yes.
I feel like I've seen that like 8 times this year.
Do you mean God of High School?
I mean God of High School. I mean Tower of God. I mean Shaman God.
Yeah, except
It's a very classic shonen in that.
this
Yeah.
is 2001 when
This
this
is
came
old.
out.
Oh,
Yes.
And the manga's like 98.
Yes.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
like classic.
is this like the predecessor to all of those? Or?
Basically.
It's in that period, yeah.
I'm going to reveal myself to a lot of people here. So Shaman King's plot is when you become, so you win the tournament, you become the king, and you can do whatever you want. That's the exact plot of Queen's Blade. Just as a,
It's not
Just by the
exactly
way.
that.
just by the way, just, you know.
Kiddies do
just
not
by the
Google
way.
that.
No, don't. But, you know, just saying.
So with Shaman King, you get to go to this other realm and meet the Spirit King, who's the king of all the spirits.
It's a lot of kings.
And
The
through
eternal
his
dragon.
power, you get your one wish granted.
Okay, thanks, Shenron.
Yeah. So that's basically the big overall, like, that's the goal that everybody's trying to accomplish.
Win the tournament, get a wish. It's God of High School, but re-original. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, I'm following.
I think I want you to sort of explain the sort of the battle mechanics. So they contact these spirits and they can form weapons of them, or
No. So what happens is each person's got like their spirit partner,
Is Yu-Gi-Oh.
and it's very
Oh,
hard to
okay.
find your spirit partner per se.
All right.
But once you've found them, you can then turn them into their spirit form, which is like this little cute ball with their face on it. And depending on your level of shamanism, you can do different things. Like the base level is you merge your spirit with theirs, and it's sort of like this Yu-Gi-Oh thing where you get their abilities and like some of their personality, and your spirits sort of communicate, and you get to fight better essentially.
okay.
And then the next level is when you infuse them into like a weapon or a medium of some sort, and then they combine to like a spirit weapon.
Okay.
And the
Cool.
third form
Oh my gosh.
this
is
isn't
when
even this final form.
is when you infuse them into a weapon, and then you can infuse them into another object as well to combine into a greater weapon.
So kind of like Soul Eater, but a little like Bleach, but also kind of just like kind of doing
Yeah.
its own little thing. I'm kind of into it.
And then level 4.
No,
No,
we'll leave it there.
No, spoilers.
At level 4, it turns gold.
And this is what it's like to go beyond.
Yeah. So like it basically like Yo's a really laid back kid and is chill, and
He's
he-
just a normal high school
No,
student.
he's not. He's far
okay,
from
good,
it.
good.
until his club's about to be shut down.
the Shaman Club. No,
The way you said that just reminded me of all the Mickey takes they have of anything that Adam Sandler is in, and what's the other guy? Such and such as
Sanderland.
Dirkity Dirk.
Rab Schneider.
Yeah.
Derpy derp.
Rob Schneider is a high school shaman, but if all the world's about to change when his club gets shut down.
Rab Schneider is the Shaman King. Rated PG.
Poor Aaron. We're like destroying his thing in front.
I'm
Please,
sorry.
Aaron. We're listening.
Yeah.
We're very
Like,
intrigued.
The creator of it, Hiroyuki Takei, he wanted to do something unique, and he noticed that shamanism
did.
wasn't in any anime.
This is true, yeah.
So he
I've
was
heard
like,
that name. Where have I heard that name?
Yeah, what else has he done? He's got a very
That's a
familiar
good
art
question.
style. That's what I'm looking at.
He's the king of the shaman. While
Yeah, he's
we
the
bring this
shaman
up,
king.
so this was adapted from a manga. The studio is XEBEC, Exebic. I don't know if that's how it's meant to be said or if it's meant to be with the Chinese CH.
I think it's meant to be said as UFO table.
No,
Got him.
no. It ran for 64 episodes from July 2001. And part of the reason we're talking about it is that it's getting rebooted next year.
Yes, it is.
Because it suffered, as we said, from the typical we've run out of manga situation.
Yeah. So the manga kept going after the anime ended. And the anime ending, while, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
The manga ending was a lot better and a lot bigger.
So the manga is finished?
The manga is finished.
Oh, that's so good to
Well,
hear.
the main manga is.
Regardless.
And then there's been like spin-offs.
So we're getting a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment.
Yes.
Basically.
Sick.
Yeah.
Boruto Shaman.
Yeah. Boruto. No, let's not.
No. No.
But yeah, you were saying the creators just found there was no shamanism in anime.
They found there was no shamanism, and so they want to sort of branch out into that and bring something new into anime. And like,
It's quite a niche.
it is a very specific niche, and it's beautiful how well he's done it. The ending of the anime is basically them going, "Yeah, we defeated the big baddie. Oh, the tournaments had to end because he used the Spirit King's power." And then the whole
spoilers.
the whole plot is like there's the Destiny Star and then the Destruction Star
What?
is its twin that follows after it.
Whoa.
So they're sort of like comets.
I don't want these spoilers.
They're not spoilers because it's how the tournament starts.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the prophecy. This is why we do what we must do.
The ending's
kind of
the uncanning. The ending of the anime is the uncanon ending, and
Okay.
basically it's like, oh, the Shaman tournaments had to stop, and then like stars go by again, and it's like, oh, I guess the tournament's back on, and then it ends.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, and that is the worst. And so like a lot of people when they first announced like the 2021 animes coming out, they're like, is it a continuation or is it a whole new retelling?
Unless.
It's a whole new retelling that's more
good.
like faithful to the manga. And one of the beautiful things about it is the creator of it. He was asked to redo it back in 2015, and he's like, not unless I can get the original voice cast back.
Oh, that's cute. That's
It's
really cute.
loyal. And so like a couple years back, in another interview with another company, he's like, yeah, I managed to get the original voice actors back for this. And that's honestly beautiful to me because it means he appreciated the original voice actors enough that he's like, yes, you are this character.
Aw. He's
And-
really, he loves his series a lot and he wants to be treated well.
He's really
like the
passionate
Fruits
about it.
Basket
I was going to say like
author.
the Fruits
yeah.
Basket reboot. Yeah.
He doesn't want it to be
it's
screwed up.
Honestly, so wholesome. And like, it's a good shonen, and it's like 66 episodes or 64 episodes, I believe. Wide diverse of characters. Like, there's lots of. Everybody's got their own goal, and it's very clear to see from the beginning, and everybody's pushing towards that. And it's just beautiful how they all come together. There's evolution through the characters, there's evolution through the spirits. You get to see how some of them meet and like how they interact with each other.
Cool.
Because they're sort of like, you know how in JoJo they've got the stands and the stands are just sort of there with no personality apart from like echoes. The ghosts all have their own personalities and they're all invested in this as well as the shamans.
Do they have that ghost kind of yokai thing where they talk about their past lives at all?
Yes.
So in that sense, oh, that's kind of cool.
Like Amita Maru does and Togegeku, and like they're all there, and like some of the spirits obviously can't communicate because they're not human enough. Because
Yeah.
there are the animal spirits. Like it delves into
that's cool.
different versions of shamanism as well.
Ah, that's kind of
So
cool.
like
yeah.
there's a guy who has like an elemental spirit who's like, you know that little Japanese sprite with the leaf over its head?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got one of those.
Aw.
And then there's an African shaman with a jaguar as his spirit.
Oh, that's cool. I
So,
love
like-
when different cultures come into things as well. It always makes me sad when it's just
American or just Japanese.
just kind of white, I guess.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Whereas he's definitely done
Let's
his
diversify.
research into different ones and like different spirits imbue them with different powers based on different things, based on their cultures. Like there's Native American ones who help running the tournament.
That's awesome.
And like he's got a buffalo, he's got a hawk, he's got a snake, he's got a turtle.
Awesome.
And they all imbue him with
He's
different.
cheating. He has too many.
That's really cool. I'm
catch 'em all.
really excited to watch this. Like, you came and you said, "Hey, I really want to do this for Ghosts," and we're all like, "I mean, okay," but that sounds really awesome. I love a good shonen that's got a very diverse cast with a really interesting either battle or magic system or something like that, and that sounds super interesting. And I love that it's getting a reboot because it's gonna be all shiny and new.
Oh, it's also more faithful to the manga style.
We love to see it. I love the art style as well. I've just been googling it, and it's really that kind of late 90s, early noughties sharp angles.
It really,
which
yeah.
is
It is. The art style is very unique. I like it a lot.
yeah, it feels kind of like kind of like a Digimon, Pokemon kind of in terms of how the characters look, but it's obviously a lot more mature with your little like Yu Hakusho kind of Dragon Ball Z kind of sharp angled. It was very cool. I'm into it.
Like, that sort of stuff is my niche, you may have noticed, because, like, I'm all Pokemon and Digimon. I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, but I like the idea that it feels...
I had no idea.
Oh, surprise. Like, this feels like it has a lot more depth to it.
It does.
Which is good to see.
It could have been really shallow, but the amount of just, like, everything the creators put into this, like, I really recommend it if you want a ghost anime that lasts a fair while.
See, that's the thing. It's like the stuff you've mentioned about it makes it sound like it is just like every kind of shonen trope in one, but at the same time, it sounds like it's been done with actual passion and interest in a subject. So it sounds worth the time and the watch. So
definitely.
I'm
April
actually a
next
little
year,
excited.
guys. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we do have to leave that section there on Shaman King because we do have to double back and talk about something that is hilarious very quickly.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back Catalogue.
Now, I don't know how many of us watched this as a kid.
I don't think a lot of us did.
Let's talk ghost stories.
This is, in fact, a story of an anime which died and was resurrected. Ooh.
He's not actually
it's so
lying.
true.
And that's
I
the
am
funny
not
thing.
So
kidding.
true.
So we take a journey back to mid-1980s. There's a man, Toritsumitsu. He's a school teacher, and he likes to collect ghost stories around his school. This is an actual story of a man who basically creates the Japanese Goosebumps books. There's like 11 of these volumes. All of them is like all of them are a different ghost story. It actually sounds like this is like what gave rise to those whole 7 mysteries of the high school thing.
Yeah.
R.L. Stein-san?
Stein Sensei.
So, of course, when something that successful, it got a few TV shows, a couple of movies, a video game, much like Goosebumps, also movies much like Goosebumps. And so, of course, they had to create an anime. Now, this anime had some pretty big names behind it. It was done by Studio Pierrot at the time.
Yep.
They did Great Teacher Onizuka, Yu Yu Hakusho, later on Bleach and Tokyo Ghoul.
Also, all the ghost animes.
Yes. This was sort of
actually.
like a big thing.
Is Bleach a ghost anime? We'll save that for later.
Bleach is technically a yokai anime.
Okay. All right.
So.
The voice actors for it as well, like they feature on Bleach and Tokyo Ghoul, and they got Frieza to voice the talking cat.
So they've got a lot of
Frieza the
good
cat.
people behind this
They have-
original Japanese series.
This original Japanese series has these great people behind it
So why didn't it succeed, Kenny?
because it was boring.
Yep.
For some reason, it was just,
Wasn't interesting.
where did it go wrong? You couldn't really tell, except that it was just supremely dull written. So, to minimum fanfare, they kind of just finished it up quickly, threw it on a shelf, and tried to forget it ever existed.
And
Until
then,
Until the year 2000, when every single Western company was buying up every intellectual property they could out of Japan, because Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z, everything from Toonami, I think we covered this in a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Like the big boom of anime in the Western world, because
got super popular super quickly.
started subculture and then entered the mainstream and was unstoppable from then. So ADV bought this and a bunch of others. I think they also got where is it? They bought Kino's Journey.
Yeah, they had Neon Genesis beforehand as well. They got that in 98 or 97.
Detective Loki.
There's quite a lot.
So they got a lot of stuff, but they also got this kind of pile of.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Generally, what happens is when a company buys redistribution rights and contracts to an intellectual property, there's a document of stipulations that come with it. Basically, the guideline, the things that you are allowed to change, are not allowed to change, basically what you're supposed to do with this anime. It's the IKEA instruction book for the anime that you've bought.
That's a really good way to
No
describe it.
words, just pictures, and you have to guess.
Not so
Well,
much.
no, but yes, it's the instruction booklet. If you are taking this series and you're going to dub it, you need to do these things. You need to have this kind of tone and such like that as well.
I would love to see an IKEA-style legal document. That would be amazing.
So, but for ghost stories, there really wasn't
They just
one of those
forgot to
documents.
include that one.
They gave you the ADV the translated script and said, "Cut loose."
Go for it.
So
Boy,
gotta
boy
cut
did they.
loose.
Boy, did they go for it.
Enter Stephen Foster. This guy has a pretty decent filmography, a pretty expansive career. He was ADR director for Grave of the Fireflies. He was the dub director for Voices of a Distant Star. He was a
that would be
writer
so
for
sad.
the English adaptation of Clannad.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Yep.
he has
He knows what he's doing.
He's got some great pedigree in this industry. He is also known to fosterize things. That's sort of like the term of endearment or notoriety, depending on who you ask. He will edit scripts to be more acclimatized.
He'll
Well,
pump up
like-
their kicks.
Okay. Well, I was going to say localized, but yeah.
No.
It's
We're
that,
not fostering the people.
It's that. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Like when you localize something and kind of add in, like what I was saying with AnoHana, like the way that they did the dub is they made sure that it actually sounded like teens talking to each other in
Exactly.
English.
Exactly.
But there's a question of whether it's done well in AnoHana or whether it's done like for kids. And look at this giant donut.
Jelly donut.
Jelly
Yes.
donut.
So
Jelly
like the
donut.
Pokemon
Exactly.
and Yu-Gi-Oh dubs are not well
And
done.
he copped some flack from a lot of purists in the anime industry for doing it for a few properties, like Le Chevalier d'Eon. That was an interesting one.
It's a beautiful show.
He did it for a few. But so he had some creative chops, and then they gave him this, Ghost Stories,
Here you go, sir. Have fun with this one. Okay.
and said, do whatever the hell you want with it. Have fun. So he did. He grabbed all of these great voice actors, and
There are compilations of some of this insanity on the internet.
It's,
and I originally thought these were like
it
a
sounds like
bridge
an abridged series. Yeah, it
It-
sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh!
everything
Abridged,
about it is
but it's
written
not.
like
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, like Sword Art Abridged, like Dragon Ball Abridged. I feel like this was kind of what came before all
This
of them.
was the original abridged series because someone's just taken the show and been like, this is the idea of it. Let's just make it comedy.
But
and it's
that's
so
the thing.
good. It's so funny.
It's the official dub as well. You go and
incredibly
buy the English DVDs, and I've bought the box set after watching some of
jeez.
those. And oh my god, the most un-PC things that these people will say.
Yeah, it's
they
not-
turned this
safe for
standard
work.
little adventure anime, this little pseudo horror, into full-blown balls to the wall comedy. It's
Excellent.
wonderful.
It's amazing.
They gave it the Takeshi's Castle treatment.
They did.
Essentially, yes.
They did, yeah.
It's sort of in the same thing as Takeshi's Castle, Rift Tracks, Mystery Science Theater. And so what he would do is instead of printing off his variation of the script, giving it to the actors in the voice booth, he had a screen where he was directly writing the script to them. And so they would read it, and then they'd start riffing off each other as well.
Oh, wow.
Gave to the sort of the rise that people thought the whole thing was ad-libbed. About half of it, I
it
think.
feels like just go
That's
on YouTube
amazing.
and just watch. It's so interesting.
Now, as far as people's reaction to it, people on the internet got angry.
Of course
not
they
the
did.
internet
Isn't
people.
that what they do?
They've
Yeah.
never done that before.
Same thing again. A lot of purists say, how dare you change this property? I'm sure the Japanese are offended. No, the Japanese thought it was so bloody funny.
They love gag comedy.
There were some lower deck rumors of a second season being born from this dead anime.
That's incredible.
Not only that, there is actually subtitles available in Japan for the dub.
For the dub.
I was gonna say,
English
it
dub.
sounds like they'd probably go back and redub it with the English.
Oh.
That's so
text
funny.
That's the thing. There is
voices.
very minimal editing to the actual animation. As far as we can tell, the only thing that has been changed is the voice. There was actually a movie like this, an Australian movie called The Adventures of Hercules, which followed a similar story. They were showing Hercules in a cinema until the people who ran the cinema discovered it's all in French. Quick, get some microphones.
Talk over the top of
no.
it.
And it was great.
Say whatever you want.
See, here's the thing. People absolutely loved it. Sometimes more than the original, but a lot of times this was what got your more...
It's a cult classic.
This was
It's
what got
those
your
followers.
standard viewer into anime in those. This was in year 2005. I think this was released, And a lot of people like who saw this thought, "Oh, I wish more anime was like this. I'm going to watch more anime."
Mm-hmm. No, that's a very good point. So that is the storied tales that we have of ghost stories.
Go watch Ghost Stories.
Go watch it.
It's funny. Watch it after AnoHana when you need a bit of kind of something a bit more.
It's ridiculous,
uplifting.
and like there are some choice lines in it, such as, "Oh, you see, the internet was a gift from Jesus."
Yeah, they take one of the straight girl characters in it, who's just this sort of like very, very like prim and proper kind of normal girl, and they turn her into a religious fanatic who injects Jesus into everything.
That they have people put in awkward situations. The teachers' context, they decide that the two of the teachers are actually seeing each other behind everyone's backs.
Having like a
It's
colossal
so
affair that is obvious
interesting
to everyone.
how much you can change a show just by changing what people say. Like, they're not changing any of the animation or even really working with the lip flaps that much. They're just kind of going at it.
And occasionally they'll tap on the
man.
fall a bit. They'll go, like one of my favorite lines is the guy going, "Oh my god, these are the fastest lip flaps I've ever had to do." Like,
Yeah, break the
Stop
fourth
breaking the
wall.
fourth wall.
Now I will put a little 2020 footnote, and that is there are some, I would say, kind of a little insensitive jokes just from when, I mean, not that it makes it okay, but it is old now. It's like 15 years old now. So just like do keep that in mind. It's not great, but also like it is still very funny.
Oh yeah.
But just like if you come across something you're like, "Oh, that's not cricket," and you're like, "Guys, you said this was great." Be like, "Look, I just want to put there may be one or two like not cool jokes anymore."
Well, there's a bunch of
it's of its
PC stuff.
time.
I mean, it's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And this was kind of during that peak period where people were being, "I'm unapologetic in what I say.
You're like,
I'm
okay.
so edgy."
I don't know. As far as Steve Foster goes and the actors, I think
don't
this
get me
is
wrong. He's a great writer.
I don't think this was about him being edgy. I think it was about them doing jokes which would make people go, "Ooh."
Yeah. Whereas now we're kind of be like, okay, maybe not, but like most of it will still be hilarious.
I think it's important to laugh at some of the jokes like that, though.
It
to
is,
take
and it's
sort
also
of like the power out of the negative aspects.
It's more like I just want to recognize, like, just by the way, we've like 15 years is a long time, but
It is.
yeah. Anyway, but yes, Ghost Stories,
Yes.
It's
amazing.
a relic.
Check it out. It's definitely worth finding. I don't think it's on any of the major streaming platforms at the
Nah.
moment, but there is so much of it on YouTube.
I don't want to be like, hey, watch it on YouTube, because obviously you don't get any money from that,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to find.
I don't think you can actually find full episodes on YouTube, but
I
you
don't
can
think you
find
can buy
plenty
it
of like
really either.
clips and compilations. Some of them have millions of views as
Yeah.
well. Like, people go crazy for this.
It's great.
Alrighty, well, we need to wrap up there. We'll be right back in a moment.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Well, that is where we need to leave things for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Next episode, it's time for some candy.
Yeah, with our next episode landing just after Halloween,
Yeah.
where we'll be talking about anime which give you the sugar rush.
Yes.
And there's more than just Dagashi Kashi, as it turns out.
And if you've enjoyed what you've heard this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get alerts for our future episodes.
And if you'd like to join the Kawaii-Fi community, don't forget to head over to our Facebook. We now have an Instagram and now a Twitter for all the breaking anime news and memes and videos
and anything else we
look,
decide to put
things
up.
we find interesting.
There might be cat pictures.
There's probably cat pictures.
There's going to be cat
Mostly
pictures.
cat pictures.
Yeah.
I'm dying inside, but it's all right, people. I'm still here. Now,
Ghost.
we...
Oh, your turn to be the dead one.
Yes, I'm dying now. Kenny's had his chance. Aaron, do you want to die next episode? Yeah?
Please?
Yeah. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. As you've probably picked up, we are now releasing on Mondays instead, because half of us are now working on the weekends, so it makes it a bit difficult to release them.
We're growing up and being responsible adults and stuff.
Is this AnoHana? Are we growing up?
No.
I'm not growing up.
Turns out I'm a ghost. You guys have to grant my wish.
Anyway.
I want a cheeseburger.
Okay, we can do that. You've
Yes.
been listening to Kawaii-Fi Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time,
Watch some anime!